Today, we're going to start out with some news. Did you have any news off the top you want to mention?
No, I don't have any news at all.
Okay, so there is some big news that's happening recently with theaters. You know how we always talk about people not going to the theater and that theater attendance is down right now? Oh, I forgot to introduce Fluffy Kitty. Here she is. She's our special guest star. She's just nice and cozy there today on her little pedestal there. So anyway, theaters right now after the pandemic are in bad straits. Theater attendance has been going down for years. It's been decreasing. So right now the theater industry, their number one thing is to get people to go back to the theaters.
Yes.
Not just people who stopped going because of the pandemic, but also to get other people to go back.
I mean, because numbers are decreasing and prices are increasing.
Yeah. And theaters need butts and seats, otherwise they're going to go out of business. And if they go out of business, then the studios are going to make less money. So I was looking up some stuff on the Hollywood Reporter, this comes to us from, and I was looking up a different story that we're going to get to next, and I found out about this. So this is from the Hollywood Reporter. I'm going to read this out and I'll put it up on the screen. Excuse me. In a rare, if not unprecedented move, theater chains across US and Canada lowered the cost of admission for a new Hollywood release, the octogenarian sports comedy 80 for Brady, in partnership with Paramount. Yes. So we saw this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And a sneak peek. And it was cheap. It was Tuesday prices.
Yeah, we thought it was because of the sneak peek.
Yeah, so apparently that's not true. We were mistaken on that. And apparently Paramount put it out and said, any theater who wants to show this, you gotta show it at matinee prices. Or like your Tuesday cheap prices.
There was a lot of people there too.
So, that included AMC theaters, the largest circuit in North America and the world. They're the largest theater chain.
Right.
For years, some distribution executives have argued in favor of variable pricing, whereas tickets are lowered depending on the movie's target audience. In this case, Paramount presented evidence showing that older demographics are more sensitive about ticket prices. So this experiment is going on right now, and so far it's been pretty good. Now, we haven't talked box office recently.
I didn't hear about it in the news, so I don't think people are going to know unless they actually say, I want to see that movie.
Well, I'm letting people know right now, if you're watching our show.
You know, it hasn't been in the media.
80 for Brady is half price.
And it's fun.
Yeah, and it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
So we got to see this.
Yeah.
And we got to see it at cheap price, but apparently all day, every day, it's at cheap price. So
like
go
$6.
check it out. This past weekend, it wasn't number one. That was its first opening weekend. The first weekend. It wasn't number one, it was number two. It was just barely beaten by M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin.
Right.
I don't have the numbers here. Also, Avatar 2 finally went down to 3.
Still there, though. So
it was, for 7 weekends in a row, it was number 1. And now it finally got knocked down to number 3.
And now we have Valentine's Day coming up. It's on a Tuesday,
so get
which
this.
Is cheap night.
80 for Brady, which had lower ticket prices, came in second.
Right.
So that means more people were going to see it. And then, after the weekend, it was barely beaten by Knock at the Cabin. Then on Monday, 80 for Brady was number 1 for that day for ticket prices.
It's probably going to knock out Knock at the Cabin because, well, you saw it and didn't care for it.
So this is an experiment going on. And what do you think of that? Do you think that's a good idea for theaters to lower price? I think it's a great idea.
I mean, we've been going to the theaters sometimes on busy evenings, like on the weekend, and there's been hardly anybody there. And then I got to go on a Tuesday once, like since New Year's anyway. I forget, it was a couple weeks ago. And it was packed on the Tuesday, cheap Tuesday.
Yeah,
and I was so surprised, like it was packed, jam-packed. So obviously the price is definitely a motivator.
It shows people want to see movies that are coming out, but the price is too expensive.
Yeah, it is really
And that has nothing to do with the concession prices, which are even more expensive.
Like $14 or something. I don't even know. And then they're adding $1 extra.
Here in Canada, I think regular prices are $11.99 for a regular thing.
Maybe that's IMAX.
So in Canada, we don't have AMC. There's no AMCs in Canada anymore. No. Unfortunately in Canada, we have a monopoly when it comes to theater change, and it's 95% of the screens, except for in Quebec, are Cineplex theaters. And what happens when you have a monopoly? It's garbage. Okay?
Well, and
They don't innovate, they don't make it better, they don't try and do anything. They just want your money and they don't care whether you have a good experience or
and
not.
from what I've heard, it's harder for the smaller chains like Magic Lantern or other theaters
Rainbow Cinemas.
to actually get the movies, because Cineplex has got the monopoly and is holding on to them for a long time.
And what happened in many provinces is they buy up the local theaters.
Right.
So then if you have local theaters that aren't Cineplex, they come in and buy it, and so then they have more locations. But they don't put any money into their theaters, unlike AMC.
We used to have 2 theaters run by Cineplex, and then they closed one of them, and now we only have one, and it has a lot of mice and rodent problems. And it's not very clean, and it's in disrepair.
Yeah, because Cineplex doesn't spend any money on it.
No.
Now, I looked this up this week because I was thinking, because they're all throughout Canada and they have a monopoly pretty much, they gotta be a pretty big theater chain. Cineplex is the number 8 theater chain in the world. Okay?
Oh, that's pretty big.
I guess they have over 1,000 over 1,000 screens, I think. But the largest theater, because they only operate in Canada, as far as I know.
That's a lot.
Okay, but the largest theater chain in the world is AMC. So while Paramount is doing this experiment to see if lowering ticket prices will get people to come to the theater for this particular type of movie, I don't think they're going to do it for every type of movie. They're not going to do it for Fast X, which is, that's not Paramount, that's Universal.
I don't know.
Like, they wouldn't do it for Top Gun Maverick.
But I think the problem is, with no competition, the prices are really high. If we had better competition, the prices wouldn't be as high, and the experience would probably be better. But now some people out there in Canada, you have a few different theaters to choose from, and hopefully yours is not as bad as ours. I think ours is so bad because it is the only one.
You're turning this into just a big rant about how you hate Cineplex, which we're not getting into. So the next story that's related to this, there's this cheap movie ticket prices, which is what the studio Paramount has done, and so they've told this to all the theater chains carrying this movie. So, also according to the Hollywood Reporter, it's in the same article, but no sooner had 80 for Brady opened over the February 4th to 6th weekend to a pleasing $12.7 million, which is pretty good, I think, then did AMC reveal that February 7th they are implementing a hefty $1 and $2 price increase for many seats in the middle and even upper sections of the auditorium, according to a review of various seat maps by the Hollywood Reporter. The new Sightline program borrows from concert stage and sports industries or the airlines. The front row, however, will be discounted by $2. The news quickly put the 80 for Brady initiative on the back burner, since AMC's plan to go in the opposite direction by introducing higher costs. Before you get into your rant,
I'm not ranting. I'm just saying
about this, here are my thoughts on this. So the number one thing that theaters need to do right now is get people back into the seats. So AMC, the largest theater chain in the world, is like, what are we going to do? We're going to raise prices. And then they're going to also introduce value seating. So what that means is all the seats that would be in the middle, where everyone wants to sit, okay, those go up by $2. Okay? And then the other seats around the sides, they stay the same. And then the value seats are like the 10 seats right at the front. That'll go down to like $9 in the US. The neckbreaker seats, as some people call them. So essentially now what they have done is, before you could go to the theater and anyone can sit wherever they want as long as it's allocated seating, but as long as you buy your ticket first, you can sit wherever you want. Now they've introduced the rich section and the poor people seating. And this is a terrible idea because...
Classes.
I don't know this guy, but the CEO of AMC is a man named Adam Aaron. He's the CEO. I don't know this guy personally. He could be the nicest person ever. He could be a huge philanthropist, humanitarian. I don't know. I've never met the guy, probably never will. But he is terrible at his job. Not because of this, but because of everything. Would you like to hear a short history of how AMC has made a bunch of blunders under this guy? Or would you like me to just jump to... Okay, I'm not going to get into my diatribe about this guy's CEO. Ranting. But this guy thinks that in order to get people to come back to the theater, to save their industry, he's going to raise prices and introduce poor people seating. Great. I sent out a tweet about that this week. I'm commenting on an article. I was like, wow, I can't wait to sit in the poor people section. That's going to be great. Imagine you're going to take your kids there and it's like, your kid's going to ask, hey, how come we can't sit in the middle there with that? Oh, sorry, those are the rich people's seats, buddy. We can't afford that. We got to sit way up front because we're poor.
For you, when I go with you, you always want to sit in the front anyways.
I'm not talking about where I like to sit behind the handicap seats. But I'm talking about on the other side of the aisle. There's like 3 rows, and they're talking like the 10 right at the front.
All of them are different. Anyway, regardless.
So let me finish with this. They've already received backlash on this. So someone came out on Twitter, actor Elijah Wood, Frodo Baggins himself, okay, here in Middle Earth. He's somewhere around. He got on Twitter, and here's what he said. The movie theater is and always has been a sacred democratic space for all, and this new initiative by AMC Theaters would essentially penalize people for lower income and reward for higher income.
Right.
So he's saying exactly what I say. Okay, rich people and poor people. So Frodo, he probably hates that, but Elijah Wood is against this. I haven't heard of anyone else since then blasting it. Well, I think it's a terrible idea. You've heard my thoughts. What do you think, dear?
Well, this all brings me back to the record industry.
Okay.
Which a few years ago had to change drastically because they were overcharging for CDs. Well, first we had tapes, and then CDs were so expensive, no one was buying them.
Yeah, that's why the record store industry is dead now.
Music, right?
Yep.
So look at this right now. We can watch all these movies we want at home on a giant screen, which everybody has, or even their small TV. It's still, you can watch it on home with streaming. Why would people go to the movies when they're charging these prices? Can they not see what happened to the record industry and realize this is us? Like, it just happened to the record industry.
I told you, that's why this CEO, Adam Aaron, he's not good. He's burying his industry.
Well, it's not just him, because they're doing it here too.
Well, it's a follow the leader approach in this industry. So if the largest one, AMC, does it, other chains like Cinemark, Regal World, Cineplex, all the others, they're going to start following suit.
Like, CDs were getting to like $30 each or something. You know, it was it was insane. I couldn't afford it, especially in those days. And it's coming the same thing about movies. And
that was ridiculous. One of the reasons why the record store industry went out of business. Because there's no more record stores. Why? You can just stream it and you can buy the stuff online.
Just selling a lot of junk.
So the music, it didn't really affect the music industry. They just had to change how they distributed and sold their product. But the record industry killed themselves. Because it's 2 different things.
And I think
the studios and the theaters are 2 different industries.
I think we're not going to have that many theaters coming up in the near future.
Yeah, they need to get people to come back, and there's a lot of people that I talk to. They just want to watch everything at home. They want to be able to stream it. They want to be able to binge it. I don't like the binge model on Netflix. I prefer the weekly model. But I used to never understand this, but I'm a proponent of the theater experience. It's way better than watching a movie at home. Way better. And
our theater gives me the heebie-jeebies, though. So not to me, not at this time. Sometimes I feel like it's dirty. I don't want to touch anything. Sitting there.
That's a problem. If your theater doesn't put money into the facilities, and you've got old seats that are uncomfortable with no leg room.
They're gross. Okay? No, the seats are dirty.
Yeah, that's why I said old, poor sanitation. True. Customers pick up on that stuff and then they stop going.
Personally,
So if you go to the theater and you have a bad experience and the ticket price is too expensive and the concession prices are even more and you don't have a good time, don't they realize if people have a bad time at their facility, guess what? They don't come back. It's just like if I go to a restaurant and have a bad time, I don't go back. I don't care what they say. Even if they say I'm going to give you a coupon or a voucher, I don't want it. I'm not going back there. It was garbage.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they pissed off so many people. Now, at least I can give credit to AMC that they through no effort on their own, they lucked out and they came into a bunch of money during the pandemic from a meme stock. Don't get me started on this. It had nothing to do with them. But they ended up getting a bunch of money in the bank, and they used that money to upgrade a lot of their AMC theaters.
Well, that would be nice.
That would be a good point. But we don't get that here in Canada.
No.
Do you get that where you're from? So, end of the day, we got AMC raising prices and creating a disparity at the theater to make the experience worse. Meanwhile, Paramount is trying to lower ticket prices to get more people to come back. I think that experiment will work out better. And if hopefully AMC has to go back on this new policy because it sounds terrible. Who's going to want to do that?
They're not making these movies. Paramount is making the movies and other companies like that. So anyway, now we see when you do go to the movies, you got like James Cameron in the front of the movie saying, "Thank you so much for coming to the theater."
Well, they've been doing that with everyone for a while.
I saw Shyamalan was on
there. Tom Cruise for Top Gun Maverick.
Thank you for coming to the theater because it's definitely a problem for them.
But one thing that also is a problem at the theaters, this is an aside, is that they've been playing too many commercials and trailers when it says your screen time. I know AMC is really bad for this. I hear from Americans all the time online saying that they have to go in there, and if your show is at 12, it doesn't start till 12:30. They got half an hour of trailers and commercials, and they even play that terrible AMC ad with Nicole Kidman.
I don't know, dear. But
you can watch it online. I mean, happiness feels good in a place like this, and they play this ad encouraging that's to get people to come to AMC theaters for the people that are already there.
Yeah.
Now. And you got half an hour. Now, lately here, I'll give Cineplex credit. I go into the theater lately, the last month or so, and it's 5 minutes, maybe a couple of trailers, and then it goes into the movie. So if I got 7 o'clock showtime, by 7:05, I'm watching the movie, and I'm like, this is great.
I haven't found that. I mean, when they started commercials in the theater, they never put the prices down. I mean, you know, they're getting money from the commercials, and the prices just kept on going up, and it makes the experience way worse. I'm sick of those commercials, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, and so lately really I haven't had to watch them, and I'm like, that's great.
When I went, there were lots of them. I don't know what ones you've been going to see, but when I went, there was quite a few, and it doesn't end. It's not like the commercials, and then you start the trailers. It was all intermixed, and so irritating.
I'm saying once it I don't know, because they play commercials in the pre-show before the showtime. I have no problem with that. But when I show up at 7 o'clock, when I showed up on Thursday, I don't remember what time, but say 7 o'clock for see Magic Mike's Last Dance, at 7:05 that movie started.
Well, that's rare.
Which is great, but it's been happening to me more and more. And would you like to know who's responsible for that?
Who's responsible?
Paramount.
For that? Okay.
A couple of years ago at this convention, it's called CinemaCon. It's for theater owners. Yeah. Paramount, the head of Paramount Studios, I don't know his name, he got up on stage and announced saying that all theaters should be playing less commercials at the showtime. Less commercials, less trailers, because there's no retention.
I don't mind the trailers, but I certainly don't like the commercials.
But if you watch 5 trailers in a row, I can't remember all of them.
But something else that with our experience is so degraded here, because we used to have the nice fun pre-show with the games and you could win scene points.
But that's from the pandemic.
All that has been gone.
That's pandemic related though.
Well, it doesn't matter. They're still charging a higher price, and we're not getting the fun pre-show anymore. I mean, this experience is just going downhill.
Yeah, so the experience gets worse, and people start going. So AMC says, let's raise prices, which means then you're just punishing the people that are going. So then less people go, and then you raise prices again. So it just becomes a negative feedback loop. Do you guys have any thoughts on that about the theater experience and what's happening with it lately? Do you think Paramount is right in lowering the prices? Do you think AMC is right in their new Sightline
classes system?
It's a Sightline program which comes from concerts. Because when you go to a concert or a sports game, the closer you are to the action, the more you pay.
Which is also, they're very overpriced. But anyway.
But yeah, that's sport, but that's what people want.
And concerts are very
Anyway,
overpriced.
Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Leave us a comment down below and let us know, and we'll read it out on the next episode.